Your intention is really a conscious direction of thought towards a purpose which is meaningful to the individual. Intention is very powerful because it allows you to consciously create what you want in your own life by directing your energy towards the things you wish to materialize. It is important to realize that whilst you have an individual capacity to bring forward what you want to create, you are also connected at a higher level to everybody else who are also creating either consciously or unconsciously day by day, meaning that what we have created on a planetary level is a combined result of our thoughts and focus we have given collectively over a very long period of time. We have a responsibility to ourselves, to each other, the planet, and the wider universe to begin consciously directing our thoughts for positive effect. Religions and the biblical perspective would cite this as being prayer. In the New Age lingo, affirmations are a similar mode for the purpose. What we are really doing is learning to maintain a stable emotional frequency and a coherent point of attraction to be able to bring our ideas or will into physically manifested form so that we can experience it in our physical reality. These two words, will and intent, are key to understanding the nature of humanity and as such hold powerful meaning within our system of law in this country and around the world. Will can be seen as human will, the desire to do something or be something perhaps. It is the free will choice of the individual to decide a course of action or to create circumstances which affect his life, his environment or the people around him for better or worse. Where an individual shows a clear intention towards a course of action which may have caused harm to another being, the penalties in the law system are significantly higher than when one has unintentionally caused harm. Exerting one's own will is a powerful state. With power comes responsibility. If one does not use his power responsibly, he will incur consequences for his actions. His conscious negative intentions are in conflict with the natural will towards harmony. Therefore, he reaps the consequences of his action. This is the universal law, known in Eastern culture as karma. This is the framework of the time matrix of this dimensional reality. We all intuitively understand what goes around comes around. How you conduct yourself energetically is what you draw to yourself, to be able to see yourself and to learn from it for your own conscious evolution. As the saying goes, be careful what you wish for, you may get it. Sadly, most of us have been conditioned into blaming others and disempowering ourselves rather than take any responsibility upon ourselves to learn and evolve from our experiences or misfortune. A common turn of phrase used in the personal injury claims law goes like this: Mr. Smith was the author of his own misfortune, as there was clearly no one to blame but himself. Whilst researching the legal system and legalese, I was often deeply immersed in the Black's Law Dictionary. One day, whilst searching for the word order, I happened to be drawn to this word holograph. It was at the discovery of this word that my own bridge to higher consciousness, awakening and freedom was eventually able to unfold. I knew that the word I had found was highly significant, though at that time I hadn't quite connected all of the necessary pieces of the picture together. I had listened to David Icke quite a bit and heard him speak about the holographic reality. The word holograph sat in the back of my mind for a year or so whilst I uncovered more pieces of the puzzle. The regular dictionary definition describes a hologram as a 3D image formed by the interference of light beams from a laser or other coherent light source. David Icke suggests that this everyday reality that we observe is in fact nothing more than a hologram, and that we decode information or energy as light through our eyes, which gives the illusion of being in a 3D solid space with solid objects. If we look at the movies as a reference, we can see that The Matrix, for example, is a key piece of information and a very poignant clue to the current nature of our manifest reality. The creative human consciousness, which is able to express meaning through archetypal representations in imagery and storytelling, has provided us with this benchmark conscious projection of insight into our current or potential reality manifestation. If we do not change our direction, we will end up where we are going. If you do not want to be used as a battery cell fueling other life forms' negative agendas without your full conscious consent, it is imperative that you take control of your own energy and begin to direct it through your conscious will, intent, and positive actions from a balanced, coherent state of being, capable of expressing your will effectively. An holographic testament is an instrument of law. That means that this is a tool or device used within the law system to give meaning and weight to concepts on paper that have force and effect, because they have been created according to a process of law, which we have all agreed to in this reality. For all intents and purposes, see the de facto slide in my earlier presentation, Law by Consent. So, for example, to leave your estate to your relatives after your death, you create a will, a last will and testament. This is an holographic instrument. It details your instructions to be carried out once you have left the earth plane, and because it is created in such a way, entirely handwritten by you, signed, dated and witnessed, it holds weight within the law system, and it should rightly be honoured. It is subject to no other form. Your human will is recognized by all concerned by the fact that you have given form to your intentions in a way that the formal systems, artificial systems, can perceive. We could consider it a 2D, two-dimensional construct for expressing our will as a concept on paper. By creating a living will, you can assert your authority, your ability to write your own destiny as you, the author, chooses, assuming it causes no harm to others. So, in the case of dealing with authoritarian rule, you can assert your higher conscious individual will over the lower two-dimensional artificial construct, thereby overriding the collective will by specifying your intentions in the form that the law or legal system recognizes, understands, and is bound by on the collective level. Remember, your will is subject to no other form. If you act with good intention and in an honourable way, you rise above and are untouched by the lower dimensional consciousness. Of course, at the higher planes of consciousness, what you will comes down to how you use your mind and your physical body to manifest that will energetically, co-creating with the universal energy, which is ever present and in support of your creative endeavours, bringing them into physical material plane of existence. Remember the Kabbalion axiom, as above, so below. If you act with intention on this plane, you will affect, it will take effect on the higher planes and become your future reality. I will, in English grammar, also implies the future state or an intention as yet to come into being. This may also be a linguistic manipulation, since it is only from the present state that we can manifest our will. Interestingly, indigenous cultures such as the Aboriginals do not have a past or future tense within their language structure. They express only the present state of being. It is time for each and every one of us who chooses by his own free will to get up off our bended knees, to stop bowing down to false rules and fraudulent rulers, and to take full responsibility for our own selves, our own sovereignty. We are our own authority. We are the authors of our lives, our path, and our individual identities. With power comes responsibility, and it is paramount that you can adopt the higher awareness of acting for and on behalf of the greater good, like a noble sovereign would, accepting all beings as they are and making your choices for your future and the collective consciousness from a perspective of unconditionally loving each and every other being. This is the second coming, the coming of man into his higher consciousness, the Christ consciousness. You are crowned by the higher consciousness, the light of awareness, or enlightenment. I remind you that I don't align with any doctrine or religion. To my mind, all scripture carries distortions, but the seeds of truth do lie within them to the keen eye who can read between the lines. I have spent 3 to 4 years researching and absorbing information, reflecting on past experiences, and being highly aware of new experiences in my reality. Since extracting myself from the legal cage, I have returned my attention to expanding and expressing my own conscious light. Much of my observations come through intuitive insights. By paying attention to subtleties and using all information as a means to navigate through it, I have managed to create, in a sense, a holographic picture of the collected experiences of each witness and fractal part of the whole, to allow the bigger picture to present itself relatively free from systemic distortion. The truth begins to shine as overlaps occur, whereas the lies and distortions cancel themselves out. This presentation is part of my perspective and of course may not be complete or indeed accurate. We all have inherited distortions. We are all works in progress. My sources include philosophy, mythology, biblical material, other scriptural texts, countless interviews or documentaries of individual perspectives on YouTube, books, music, film, tarot cards, famous art, and above all a keen observation ability through all available senses. And I reiterate again that it's the internal journey, the going into your own self to trust your own intuition, where the answers come. Human consciousness has long been studied by the corporate world. The high levels of the military-industrial complex and the unacknowledged deep state as a means of getting a firm grip on what is seemingly a bar of wet soap, the human consciousness. But their efforts are with the intention of control and exploitation. The tighter their grip, the less of a secure hold they have, which is why at first it is difficult to perceive that our governments are not our friend. There is a very subtle and silent grip on you that means you almost choose your own captivity. For the mainstream, the view of human consciousness is largely uncharted territory, but it is now increasingly interesting to scientific study. It is considered that our consciousness is not born of or within our own individual minds as previously thought, but that human consciousness is a non-local phenomenon. Certainly within the metaphysics or spiritual communities, this idea is widely accepted and celebrated as the human condition, a fact that although we may not see it directly, we can and do experience a connectedness to each other and even all other natural things once we start to open ourselves up to that possibility. These ideas are present also within the teachings of the mystics, the Gnostics, Kybalion, and indigenous cultures. I would care to say at this point that all texts potentially carry the seeds of distortion, and the individual must be discerning in how he or she receives and uses any information. If we are all connected to the same source, that which is called God by religions, and is a reflection of itself and each other, we are all receiving the same energy and messages from the all, the source, which is actively creating moment by moment with you and through you once you allow it, and more so if you engage with it. Once you grasp and accept this concept, it quickly becomes apparent in the world around you. This is easier said than done because our ego resists. You begin to see the threads of this same one message through everything. This message is primarily and fundamentally about unconditional love being the true basis of everything and the natural order of things. However, this simple message has become clouded and confused by the collective unconscious, which has derailed itself over the millennia in which it has attempted to reach its own self-realization, its awakening. You have free will in this arena, and it cannot be violated by the consciousness which is external to this arena unless it is invited, accepted or requested. This goes for the help of your individual guides who are there to assist you on your path. It also applies to guardian angels, soul groups, deceased relatives, etc. If you ask for help from these sources, it is undoubtedly present. Be aware to set clear intentions about who it is you want to invite into your sovereign space. It is important to declare your sovereignty and not give away your power to any other being. It is really your higher self which is the bridge to your soul, which is guiding you home. in this perception of separateness, we seem to desire help from external sources, and we create ideas of angels or spirit guides, etc. I think it is energy or consciousness, and not all consciousness is acting for best purpose. If you are setting clear intention and asserting your sovereignty, you are more likely to connect to your higher conscious energies rather than attracting negative or manipulative energies to you.